and welcome to another video with me, Elmo J. Karjalainen. It's good to have you along. You can call me this guy if my name is tricky to pronounce. Today I'm taking a look at the Marshall Origin 50 head. And I'll be right back after this intro. Okay, so I've previously taken a look at the Marshall Origin 20 and I've also compared that to the Marshall Plexi 50 watt that I have behind me here as well. And it kind of just, I was supposed to get an Origin 50 ages ago, but because of blah 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 blah, well, it kind of never really happened. But now it has happened and I have the Origin 50 here behind me. And it certainly looks the part of a Plexi. It looks very nice indeed. And it has Elmo and Ziltoid sitting on top. So the Marshall Origin is a budget-friendly Marshall full valve head. It comes as a combo as well. And it's kind of a tip of the hat by Marshall to the older things, the Plexis and all that, as the name implies. It costs, the 50 watt head costs only 459 euros here in Europe, which is nothing for a 50 watt valve amp. Great stuff. Does it sound the part? Well, let's see. What else do I have here? I have a custom mahogany Strat with Seymour Duncan YJM Fury pickups. I have an Overdrive, the Strymon Sunset, which I'll be using occasionally. I have a bit of delay and yeah, that's about it. I'm going into a Marshall cab, which is mic'd with an AKG-C 414. I've set the EQ like I would on my Plexi, so presence is just under halfway, treble is just over halfway, and bass and middle are at 3 o'clock roughly. I'm starting with gain on full. I'm running it in the lowest possible wattage mode, and I think the manual said that that's half a watt, and it's still quite loud. I had a bit of a noodle with this and it gets extremely loud. Okay, so let's see what it sounds like. I have the tilt button set to high treble now, which is the inputs I would use on my Plexi, and it sounds like this without the overdrive and without the boost engaged on the Origin. Let's see what the tilt button does, so I'll roll it back to the normal position. Yeah, I prefer it with the high treble setting. Let's see what it does halfway. Okay, let's put it back to high treble. And I also dropped gain halfway to see how clean it gets. Gets a bit thin and also you lose a bunch of volume, which is kind of to be expected because it was fairly clean to start with. Let's see what the boost does. Gain back all the way up. Now there's a bit of hiss going on. Okay, so far so good. Let's add a bit of overdrive from the Strymon Sunset. I have one side set to kind of moderate overdrive, and this is what it sounds like now. Yep, it's even at the low watt setting, it's quite loud, and I only have master at roughly 10 o'clock. Okay, let's see what it does with kind of full overdrive from the Strymon Sunset. How Yngwie does this get? It sounds good! What can I say? 459 euros for 50 watts of this type of sound? Hey, what's not to like? One final test is to see how the effects loop reacts to a volume knob, because I've noticed different amps can react differently. So what I do with my Marshall Plexi, because they get crazy loud, I have a volume pot in the loop to control the volume without mucking about with the sound. There is a slight difference in sound, but nothing major. So let's see, I'll just turn down volume, let's say, a bit and see how that reacts. Okay, so now it's very quiet. I'll switch up to the mid volume or mid power setting. It darkens the sound a bit, which is a shame. It doesn't do that with the Plexi. With the Plexi, it drops the clipping of the output stage a bit, just a tiny bit, depending upon how much volume you drop, but the tone stays very much intact actually. But on this it drops the high end a bit, so there's some kind of difference in how the loop works. I don't know about that kind of stuff. You can put something in the comments if you know about that. Why that is. Yeah, I'll just turn that volume back up. Okay, I'll end by playing a bit more on the lowest wattage setting. I tried it at the highest wattage setting. I didn't even go halfway with the volume because it got really loud. So you have plenty of headroom with this amp. And it didn't do what I think the Origin 20 did, was where it started to sound like it couldn't quite cope with full volume and an overdrive pedal. It started sounding a bit weird. This didn't at all. I have the mic set up so right now that I'm not going to try it at full blast. I'll do a separate video where I compare it to the Plexi and I'll have a dB meter and tell you how loud it gets here. Yeah, that's the Origin 50 head. I have to say I like the sound of this amp, and for 459, that's not a lot of money. I don't know, like I've said in previous videos where I've had budget amps, I don't know about reliability. The Bugera that I had, that I sold, I just got an email from the guy who bought it that the amp just died. So that's not kind of scientific evidence to suggest that cheap amps break easier, but hey, that could happen to an expensive amp as well. But I always have slight reservations when it comes to budget gear, because if you're going to be playing live, you need to rely on your gear to work every night. And I've heard enough stories of budget gear that I want my gear to be reliable. So I'm not going to say anything about that. You kind of make up your own mind about that. I would be hesitant to have just one of these live. I'd need a second one as a backup. But then again, I always have the Plexi. I have two of those as well, just in case something happens. Yeah, that's basically all I have for you today. I'll end by playing a bit more on the Origin. I hope you liked the video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. If you didn't, you can give it a thumbs down, or better yet, just bugger off. Comment, let me know what you thought, and if you have an Origin 50 or any of the other Origins, let me know what you think of those. And subscribe if you haven't already, hit that bell notification thing, and support me on Patreon, because you get a bunch of exclusives. And at this point, I'd like to give a big thank you to all of you who've supported me on Patreon, past and present patrons, because hey, you make this so much better, and I'm really thankful for your support. And yeah, if you want free music, you can check out my website. The link's in the description. You get a compilation album of 6 or 7 songs. I forget. I'm old. My mind's not what it used to be, and it wasn't that good to begin with. So I'll end with a bit more on the Origin 50, and I hope to see you in another video. Take care. Goodbye.
Bye.